I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I grew up in a family-owned business. My family owned, when I was in high school, a beauty salon and one cosmetology school and two beauty salons. And so I spent my summers working in the business, the family business. And I am a person that truly enjoys my freedom. And so I like to be able to choose, the hours that I work, the time I work, and how I'm able to impact the world. And so with that, entrepreneurship is just natural, and I truly enjoy.
So I think growing up, seeing my parents having a flexible schedule, I was able to come home and see my parents. I could have the opportunity to have my own schedule where I can maximize my strengths and skills that way. So seeing that highly influenced me to want to become an entrepreneur, and doing the 9 to 5 and working many hours, I figured if I can do that, I can do that into my own business. So that was one reason that I became an entrepreneur.
For me, it was more or less a feeling of like growing up. My mother, she came home from work very tired, single parent household, but at the same time I did have my father around. But seeing her come home tired from work, not really happy with the environment that she was in. I don't know if it was the corporate environment or that, the type of people that she was around. But seeing that, I kind of didn't want that for myself. So I had to use my skills and what I was good at to kind of make a way for myself. So I pretty much followed my own likes and dislikes, and pretty much what led me into screen printing, making t-shirts, things like that. So it was more or less paying attention to my surroundings, what I saw that I did want for myself, what I didn't want for myself, and kind of going from there.
I would say mine is more natural. I've always been a very creative person. I've loved decorating things. I've always, from a young age, grabbing my granny's Vogue books and cutting out pictures and putting stuff together. I've always loved dressing up and being very creative. So I thought, why not turn it into a business? Why not, starting from a very young age of 3rd grade, selling my rubber band bracelets, then going to bracelets, then doing custom orders. So it kind of just came very natural. I did have some entrepreneurs. My uncle is one that I had looking up growing up. So he was always right there to be like, hey, this is what you can do to take your business to the next level. Hey, check out this video to add this to your business. So I do have a little bit of both, of having the family and then just having it come natural because of my abilities.
Mine was a tad bit different. As a kid, I always envisioned myself wearing a suit, having an office with a view. Then next thing you know, lost my scholarship my senior year. My college office was a little different. But I stayed in a middle class family, working family. Person across the street was a police officer. Father worked at General Motors. Best friends worked at Chrysler and this. So I thought the envision to make that suit tie come through was like working a job. Then next thing you know, I'm at college, and then my college offers and the job description that fits my degree wasn't paying what I wanted. So I felt that really my income potential shouldn't be limited to my title that I work for. So next thing you know, I started looking into entrepreneurship. I came across a few mentors, and I realized that was going to be the way for me to create the income I felt that I truly deserved. And then that's when I came to, I know if you heard it in my bio, it's not how much money you make, it's what you do with the money you make. And that's what created my success.
Mine is a LLC, Limited Liability Corporation.
My corporation that I'm in the field of real estate. I like to call myself a real estate professional. I do the investment. I also do PR, advertising, and marketing as well.
Same here. Mine is technically a sole proprietorship LLC, which I just learned today is different from a S Corp LLC, but it's basically a sole proprietorship because I own the business outright myself. And I'll just add that growing up, I didn't have a lot of resources, so I didn't have the ability to have anyone give me collateral or loan me any money to open my business. So I pretty much own my business from top to bottom myself. I don't have any, again, angel investors, no loans or anything like that. I just pretty much went out and opened the business and have been going since then myself. So again, my entire business is all sole proprietorship, and it's all owned by myself. So LLC sole proprietorship.
I'm actually currently in the process of making my business legit. At a young age, me just selling something to my neighbor or something is just, it's fast. So I'm in the process of making my business.
My business is right now LLCs, but one of them, my CPA feels that it might be advantageous to turn to a C Corp, but I'm doing whatever that gives me the best tax protection. That's how I base my business.
What is unique about my business? I deliver the content, the information on etiquette. When people hear the word etiquette, everyone gets all nervous and they think, oh, that's old school, it doesn't matter anymore, it's outdated. And so what makes my business unique is that we make it relevant and modern and fun. So we make etiquette fun. And so that's what's unique about my business. And I don't know that there are a lot of other etiquette instructors that do things the way that I do.
Okay, what makes my business unique as a real estate professional? When it comes to investing, I think when I'm with my team and we meet people, when we go to the banks and when we're requesting to have these meetings, I think they're a little surprised by my team. It's myself, an African American, an Asian, and then a white Caucasian male. So I think it's getting prejudged. When I go into a property and I'm the boss, people look at me and they try to question me, or they want to, they're unclear on who's making the orders around. And I think it puts you in a position as an entrepreneur to really step up and own your stage. What I mean by that, like I say, when people are trying to challenge me and my property, and they're coming to do work in my property. So just implementing, good leadership within your team and being able to show off your skills in leadership is a pretty big one. Facing those hurdles, as far as when someone do see me and they want my business and they're questioning if I'm the owner of the property, or if they want to do business with me because based on, let's say, my age or how I look towards my ethnicity or my race. And I take pride in my ethnicity and my race and my age, being into real estate at a young age. So I think that I take pride in that, and I go head first with, taking on my responsibilities, doing that.
What makes my business interesting? I think the fact that it's versatile. My spaces or my studio is set up like when you walk in, it's a retail store. I have a lot of t-shirts. Everything in my shop is all my designs as far as the t-shirts, and then I have like pictures on the walls. I sell artwork and things like that. And it's twofold to where when you look at it, it's a retail store, but I also, 90% of what I do is I screen print for companies and businesses. So whenever someone comes in, my store kind of doubles as both, of course, it's a retail shop as well as a screen printing studio, to where they play off of each other. If someone were to come in and say like they saw one of my designs that I have on my shelf for sale, they can say, hey, I want that for my family reunion t-shirts, or I want to do this for a bridesmaid party, or whatever event that they have going on. So that's what I do like about my business that makes it so versatile, or that it is so versatile, that they kind of, both of those things, they very much so play off of each other. Again, with the screen printing piece of it, it is, if I'm printing for someone who comes in and they're picking up an order, they see something that's on the shelf. I have oftentimes where they'll buy one of my retail items off of the shelf because they like it so much. So again, both of those things play off of each other. If I'm doing events, I'm selling T-shirts. Someone says, "Hey, you also screen print." Again, it more or less sets up the screen printing or the retail to advertise for one or the other. So that's what I really do like about my business as far as that goes.
I would say the most unique thing about my business is that I allow my customers to be themselves. I started my business off of custom creation. So if you want to be over the top, there you go. If you want to be Miss Simple, there you go. With my idea of my site, of me having not only clothes, but hair tutorials, makeup tutorials, different nail looks. I'm not just selling you clothes and handmade jewelry. I'm selling you a lifestyle. A lot of people, when they look at me, they're like, "How are you so put together?" This is my secret. I'm letting you in on how am I so put together? How am I fabulous from day in to day out? So it's a lifestyle, not just clothing.
When it comes to my businesses, I can't say that they're unique. Real estate, trucking is common. But I think my approach to business is what separates myself from everybody else. For instance, my employees with the trucking company, they're not employees. We talk, we text. Granted, it makes it easier because I don't have a big company, but I say as much as when I grow, I hope to have that same relationship. But even with real estate, even in some of the areas where people would say, "Oh, that's not an area, you're putting too much money into the house," I still make it a nice house even for my rental. They got ceramic, they got stainless steel in areas to where people would not say you should put that much money. But the one thing I found with doing that is I get in a tenant that know they can't get this house nowhere else for that price, so they stay. They actually take an embrace on ownership. I had a tenant put in a garbage disposal. I'm there, I see the box, and I'm like, "What's that?" And she's like, "Oh, I went out, I just replaced it." You know what I mean? So, I feel like that's what makes my business unique. It's not just about what can I get, it's how what can I give back and how can we all make this happen together and make it a good thing. So that's what I feel makes my business like unique.
Mental attitude, like always learning. So whenever I'm working, whether I'm working from home or wherever, I have something on YouTube, I'm listening to a TED Talk, something to continually be learning. So that's another one. And then the art of negotiation, learning the art of negotiation was another critical point. So I learned that in the car business and then also in real estate. Those two places, you have to negotiate well, you have to be shrewd. And so I grew up being so nice and so forth, but I had to understand that there is value in showing up, knowing your worth, and negotiating for what you're worth. And so,
How have you challenged the stereotypes about Black people?
how to challenge this by literally being my best. And the other thing is making my best the authentic best, because I used to feel like I had to be somebody else too in order to challenge the stereotype, that I had to be like someone else in order to be accepted. And granted, there are rules of the game, and I know that and I understand that, but then I know to bring my best self to whatever situation there is, and that I think that challenges the stereotype in itself. And then, of course, trying to do that for others and give them empower them to do the same.
I guess it just depends on your perspective on what you believe that stereotype is. So if you say, when you ask a question, I'm not clear on what stereotype you're referring to, but I guess it just goes off your perspective. So I don't know if anyone else want to.
I feel like I do a lot with defying stereotypes. One being my age. I mean, how many people do you know worked with President of the Science Center, worked with CEOs and CFOs? I don't know how many people have done that at the age of 16. Especially being Black. Let's add that. But being my own boss, knowing my worth, not settling for less, I think has allowed me to break down those barriers and stereotypes. Again, like you said, it depends on what
Positive or negative
stereotypes you're
so-
talking about.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would say my determination and knowing my self-worth would definitely be me breaking down the stereotypes, not settling for less.
I think I didn't mean to like skip
You
or
okay,
anything.
you
I was
okay.
just like
Yeah.
but basically I feel like whenever it comes to stereotypes, if we have if a person has a very specific ideal in their head about whether it be a black man or a black woman or whatever the case, I think it's very interesting how those things play out and how that person carries themselves. I think for me lately, a very good case study of that would be Cardi B and her rise to fame. You know, regardless of how you feel about her, the thing that I like about her is basically where she's come from and how she carries herself, how she doesn't feel the need to assimilate to ruling majority white culture, and how we see how we look at America. You have to be prim, you have to be proper, you have to have a collared shirt, or whatever the case may be, in order to succeed. And I think she's breaking down those walls of making me as a black owner. Granted, I don't look up to her in that regard, but how we look at someone who is successful, that they don't have to, again, assimilate or change who they are as a person in order to be successful. So I guess applying that to myself, or if I'm speaking for myself, I would say in my neighborhood, I don't worry about, I sag my pants, it is what it is. I like to wear, flashy shoes or whatever the case may be. I come to work or open my store with a do-rag on my head. I don't worry about how other people look at me when I'm opening up my store. I'm still walking in, I'm still there, speaking to people as they would if I was outside of my store, not, in my store or on the clock, I guess you could say. I speak to people very real and genuinely. And maybe I'm in a position where, again, because I own my business from top to bottom, I have no one to look up to who feels like that I have to appease them. That maybe gives me the ability to be able to do that, or not feel like I have to put on some type of prim and proper suit in order to appease the people that I'm around. But again, I think being your authentic self and doing whatever it is that you do, I think that is what combats quote unquote stereotypes or whatever good or bad that they may be.
My thought process to challenge it is support minority businesses. Don't just, it's easy to go to the local place that everybody else to go to, but actually step on the edge and support a smaller business. Go get your graphic tee from a guy like this person. And then actually, when we get the shot, do a good job. I don't know why we get that bad stereotype, but if we couldn't do the good job, you wouldn't have MBE Enterprises, Disadvantaged Enterprises. That right there gives you the shot to actually compete with the companies that I guess they say we're disadvantaged. But once you do a good job, that's the way to get in. It's sad that we have to take the title of a disadvantaged business or a minority business just to get a chance to compete, but you do it. But then when you get past that, really just look at yourself as a company. Why would I want to feel like I have to be a minority company? Why do I have to feel like I'm handicapped to get this shot? Let's just do good business. If you give a good service, give a good product, actually cater to the market you're trying to get your business from, and do a good job, you'll get your chance. But the best way for me, I say, is we start supporting and believe we have the same value as everybody else has. And then once that happens, other people will see the value in us. But we won't patronize and nobody else will.
Mentors. Whenever I'm feeling like I need a little bit of motivation, I reach out to mentors, go to my local library, find a nice book to read. Yeah, I think mentors is a pretty big one.
Currently, I'm reading the book Becoming, and that has been a big, what do I want to say, like light bulb moment for me. I'm constantly being re-inspired and remotivated. Again, me revamping my circle, who I surround myself around, plays a key role in your mindset as one, as a person, two, as an entrepreneur. Also, I follow various fashion sites for me, for my like personal gain, for like what colors are in, what colors are not in anymore. And then also a person, she's on YouTube, she's a blogger, she's called Lavish Ruby, and she's actually a college student. She's becoming a doctor, and she has 2 companies. So I always look to her because I get a lot of discouragement from my peers. Like, why are you doing this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, you're going to go to school and you're going to be a lawyer. Like, why do you have a business? Like, it's an either or type of thing. I shouldn't have both. But I have various passions, and I love beauty and I love helping others. So that looking at Lavish Ruby to see, okay, look, she's doing it, so can I. Has really helped me be inspired and motivated as an entrepreneur.
My inspiration, I draw from 2 groups of people. Kind of like my niece say, I went and created my circle. Some of my circle is people I grew up with. Some is mentors. I went out and sought them, and I made them make me become their friend. But the first group are some successful entrepreneurs that came from the working class, that's solidified, actual millionaires that grew their business organically and reached where they're at. And then the second group of people are friends that are in stages of investing like me. So they kind of know what we go through. We all set plans for each year. At the end of the year, I plan to be here. We actually put hard dates of what we're gonna have accomplished by these dates. We send each other to them, and we hold each other accountable. From both group of people, I get inspiration when things get rough and I'm in a bad project, or I get advice when I need somebody else's viewpoint that's not actually in the situation. They can actually give me good advice to actually move forward. And we just always encourage each other, you know. So I'm fortunate enough to have that, but that's where I get my inspiration from.
I would say Michelle Obama has been a real inspiration for me lately, not because I've been reading her book, but because she is, 1, very commanding, but 2, very subtle. You know, she's not so aggressive in that stereotype of a mad Black woman, and she knows her worth. Yes, she would be my favorite because she's who I want to be. I want to run the world someday, and she's darn close to it. So,
Someone in that circle that I know is Hill Harper. So he's an author, actor. He also went to school with Barack Obama, and I look up to him. I spoke to him a few times. I've got some words of encouragement from him as well. I've read some of his books, so that's someone that I would say. And activists.
As far as celebrities, I think if we learn anything from the past 5 years, we shouldn't look up to celebrities. If that's told you anything, I would say one that I do look up to, that I do follow pretty closely myself, would be Michael Eric Dyson, which is he's a writer. I think he speaks on CNN occasionally. He is also a preacher. Another, I would say, activist would be Fred Hampton, who is a Black Panther. But he came and basically, long story short, wanted to unite poor people across the board as far as minorities, period. I would say those 2 people, if I had to name someone, would be people that I look up to. But as far as I mean, again, I don't look up or draw inspiration from anyone, but my grandfather, I would say, is a very big person that I look up to, being that he and my grandmother grew up in the South, and my grandmother, she grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. My grandfather, they got married. He was in the Navy, and they moved around the world, Korea, Japan, places like that, and they settled in East St. Louis. And eventually they retired in the late 90s, and they moved back down to Montgomery. And they moved a block away from the governor's mansion in a neighborhood where my grandmother couldn't be when she was a child. So again, I don't look at celebrities per se as inspiration or, you know, people that are higher than me. But again, I look at my grandfather as somebody who's, you know, really helped out and molded me as a person, I would say. So I would do that.
The celebrity I'm gonna name will sound like a cliche, but Jay-Z. For multiple reasons. Everybody see the rapper, but they don't see the business side of him, how he launched the champagne, how he didn't attach himself to the cognac but pushed it forward with Douce. Just the business involvement that he displayed over his career, how he got into sports management, managing sports players, everything. So just how diverse he is what really got my attention. And then when you say the activist side to him, he doesn't just, all right, speak on it. He actually will make a mini series to bring awareness to a situation, or he will actually pay for attorneys to actually go out there and see what they can do for this particular cause and everything else. So he actually puts his money in place, and he actually used his podium to speak up on certain issues. But I hate to sound like a cliche, but I won't say he's my inspiration, but it's a lot that you can learn from him as a person, besides how people might perceive him from his past career of rapping.
I'll start by saying just inclusion, just bringing more people to the table. And that goes for what we've been talking about, like your age, your gender, your ethnicity, your race. So just having more people to make everyone feel comfortable, having more smart brains, smart ideas from different people, so that it's an input of everyone, not just one particular group. Inclusion.
I think that's a very loaded question. I don't think I'm qualified to answer it, but if I had to say something that would help systematic oppression, would be having people in the government that reflect the actual people that they serve. I feel like a lot of government officials are older, ruling majority white males, particularly, that have a view of the country, maybe even grew up in a time where the country was very different. And so they're operating it in those same capacities. So again, having more government officials that make laws, that create things, or create the context of us living in America socially would definitely help out in that essence, as well as taking out big box brand dollars out of government. That would help as well, but that would be looking at it as in an optimistic point of view, and I personally don't look at it optimistically, so I just look at that.
But I would say by one, supporting our people. You know, with supporting Black businesses from a minority standpoint, when I have customers that, you know, are minority, they're like, why do you charge $10 a bracelet? Like, can I get like $5 a bracelet, like $6 a bracelet? And I'm like, no, boo, it's $10 per bracelet. Like, it's $10 like the rest, like everybody else. And I think just supporting our people in all aspects and not expecting a discount, and me looking at me as a entrepreneur as less credible. Why do you go and you pay Gucci $1,000 for a Gucci shirt, but when I ask for $10 per bracelet, you starting to look at your pocket like, ooh, I don't have money for $10 for a bracelet, but you can go buy Gucci and you can go buy Louis and You can go to the next door in West County Mall and spend money, but you won't come to me and spend money. That makes no sense. So I would say, one, supporting our people, and two, with having a government, I'm agreeing with him, reflect the people that they serve and not having a white ruling majority, because how in the world are you going to speak for, you know, the lower class? Like, how you don't have no you don't have no type of connection besides research, and we're not research, we're people.
And that's
So,
on both sides as well.
yeah, but still,
We
yeah,
can look
I
at-
would say supporting the people and having a government that reflects its people more.
Everybody have their own opinion of systematic racism. Everybody definition is a tad bit different when it comes to it. People even attach oppression to it. But when you actually think about it, I can't speak on how everybody else can kind of challenge it as in being a white or a black or a Korean or Mexican, but I can only say that we can always start with how we treat each other. Maybe it'll create other people to see us different, especially when it comes to business. And I just know, I'm pretty sure being in real estate, most people will, I hate to say it, I see people try to negotiate the price with a person of color or a minority when it comes to an electrician or something, when it comes to the price, but openly accept a higher bid from a white person. And I'm like, but in the same breath, if we're going to negotiate them down, that's basically saying that they have a less value. So, or instance, maybe my guy here with the t-shirt, like I know I referenced him before, we'll go to the store and spend $65, $70 on a graphic t-shirt, but I'm pretty sure he has a t-shirt that's just as nice because it does not come from a label and it's made by a black person. It gets viewed as being a lesser standard. So until we start seeing the value in ourselves and actually supporting ourselves, that'll make other people see the same thing. Maybe that can stop. And then even when it says to systematic racism, even when it comes to the people that make it to places of B, they're scared to lose what they have because they feel the other person or the pressure might take them from it. So it's hard for them to, I want to say they say it's hard to reach back and give, but I can understand I wouldn't want to lose what I have for a cause that most people are not going to rally behind for me to fight. So it's a hard way to answer that question, to say how do you fix systematic racism. But my opinion is we start supporting our own. I want to say in other communities, they do it all the time. We just need to start doing the same.
Don't devalue your product or your service. Stay consistent. Build a nice team. Do your work, do your homework, know your market, know what you're working on, know your product, know your service, and just be consistent. Just don't give up. It's not a perfect path, so it won't be easy. But I would say be consistent with, going down your path that you want to create. And I wish anyone the best who wants to jump out and take the jump to get in that journey. But you have a flexible schedule. It's very rewarding. So good luck.
I think the advice that I would give would be diversify your social circle as much as possible. Like I said, me being a black person, I have a lot of black friends, et cetera, so on. That's great, and that's just generally how we all grow up. We grow up with the people around us. But being that black people in general, we don't have a lot of the resources that require to successfully run a business, or just, again, not directly, but some very indirectly. It's very important to grow your circle, and I don't mean that from a just be around people, but learn how to communicate with other people. I have, again, of course, a lot of white friends. I have a lot of older friends, younger friends, et cetera, so on, and I know how to communicate with these people in a very real way, to where, again, if I have someone that's older than me, maybe they can give me more business or help me out in my business or be a mentor. So again, just diversifying your the way that you communicate, just in general, to be able to communicate with more people, that would definitely help out as far as being more successful or growing your business.
I would say surrounding yourself with a good support system to keep you accountable. I would also say something that you love doing, because if you don't love what you're doing, it's gonna feel like work. I mean, granted, it is work, but it's gonna be hard, and you're not gonna like it, and it's not gonna be fun. So you're gonna quit, and I mean, granted, you are gonna fail in the process, but you're really gonna go through it if you really don't like what you're doing. I would also say that knowing your worth and not settling for less can be really hard in a white dominated society that you feel like you're less than. So always know your worth, and I always say this: network across and not network up as much as you do. Now, granted, you can do a little bit of both. I always thought when networking, oh, I need to talk to the CEO. Oh, I need to talk to the boss in charge. But it's also beneficial to know, okay, who's in the trenches with me? Who can I bring up with me? Oh, I remember I talked to this girl and she did this. Let me see what she can do with my business. Let's help out each other. So not so much of that mentality of let me network up, but also network across to see who you can bring up with you as well.
One that I would say is know that you're a business. You're not a minority, you're not a disadvantage, you're not a black-owned business, but you're a business. Give a good service and a good product, your business will grow. Second, that I would tell people, reinvest into your business, especially in its early stages. Just like beginner's luck with casinos and gambling, that does exist with business. With business, you can become overfunded. So when you hit your slow period, it can make you. Second thing that I would like to say is read. Again, read. First book I would recommend is Who Moved My Cheese? Man, the book is about this big. I make my boys read it.
Yeah, I
They
read
sit
it
back there.
too.
Who Moved My Cheese? And not in the sense that the book means it, and it states that the industry is steady changing, make sure it's not changing and you're getting left behind and you're not looking like Sears and everybody else that's getting outpaced. But more, actually, I put it in all aspects of business. For instance, promoting. Right now, everybody is going to Google. They go to Google, they look for a person's Instagram page. You know why? They want to see what work they're doing right now. So that's evolving. So now, if you know that everything's evolving, if you're 100% concentrated with your advertisement on Instagram, when the waves switch from there, you're going to miss it. Now, you're stuck. You're left in that dimension that when everything was evolving, you weren't changing with it. Another thing that I would like to add is have patience, man. It's not a marathon. It's a marathon, not a race. It's if you're anything like me, patience is something I struggle with. I want to go fast, but I learn when I slow down, you don't miss nothing. So actually stand on top of it. And like I say, go out there, put in the work, give a good product, a good service, your business will grow.
I am proud of our race. I am very proud of our race. I think we have a lot of accomplishments. Just having activities like this where you can bring people together and just discuss and share ideas and just communicate with how to advance as a community.
That's supporting one another, and always remember that there are people that came before you that paved the way for you, and we need to be mindful that there are going to be people that come after us, and so we need to be conscious of what can I do to support and enhance and bring along people with me. If I'm stepping up, I should have a hand below me reaching somebody, pulling somebody up with me. Support, and always looking out for one another, I would say, will be key in growing a closer relationship and seeing the value in one another.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of what they just said. I think you took the words right out of my mouth. I think having events like this to where we can speak to one another or we can speak to someone who's also coming up to pull them up as well with us. I think that's very important to empower ourselves, but at the same time, I feel like we are empowered. We have pride and that we're proud of each other. I think it just expresses itself in different ways. But at the same time, again, just communicating between each other, even between races, I mean, that's good. I feel like communication is definitely key.
But also, like she stated, there are people behind us. I know when I was breaking into the industries, I would hate to say it, the people of color that I kind of wanted to go to their advice, they felt like you was at competition. There was not enough money to go around. Well, we all know there's more than enough money to go around. There's more than enough deals. So actually, I say for me to go out there and be that person and empower, I go show my face in events like this, not just here. I've been down to Father Support. I go down and I'm going down there right now with a curriculum with the students at Job Corps, because and when I want to say, when I was growing up, you didn't see black entrepreneurs. It was just working class. The successful person worked at General Motors. They worked at Chrysler. It wasn't, oh, I started this business and I did that. So go be that inspiration, because a lot of people don't think they can do it, or there's people like us that do it, or they think that the person that looks like us that do it have to show up in a suit and tie. And I go to these events, like I tell my niece, I was gonna show up in a Nike jogging suit, because who says you can't do business like that? I remember a buddy of mine, his job, and I know I'm kind of going off subject, but his job, they was like, hey man, you gotta show up. Everybody got a shirt and tie for this day. The owner's gonna come through. The guy walked through with some thong sandals, flip-flops, some khaki shorts, and a graphic t-shirt. But everybody else that came to see him was in a shirt and tie. And I was like, but you can't tell me he's not in business. So when I go meet these kids on their level, I dress comfortable to let them know. And if they question it, I go to the website. I bring one of my employees up. Here, we can go to one of my projects. If you're looking to get into carpentry with Job Corps, hey, you can come shadow this guy and do hang some drywall at one of my properties to show them that I look like you, I'm in business. That's in my way of saying, helping people be proud is go back, give your time up. That's the most valuable part of it. But I would love to see more people come behind me doing the exact same thing. That's my goal.